Equal representation matters because it makes better decisions. Rather than theory-based decisions, it's based on women and potentially people from diverse backgrounds and their lived experiences shaping the decision making. My personal motivation for standing for election was based on my background. I'm the first woman in my family to go into university. My parents were born and brought up in Pakistan. I was brought up in quite a deprived area, so I had to face a lot of barriers and a lot of challenges. I came from a background that was quite a humble background, but Glasgow gave me so much. I went on to university, achieved a PhD, I worked locally, I worked nationally, and I believe that every Glaswegian should have those opportunities. As a political representative, the area that I represent is very diverse, but it's also got a lot of challenges in terms of poverty and inequality. And when I started to campaign, I felt more and more that it reminded me of my childhood and some of the barriers and the challenges that I faced. And I wanted to represent that community, to be their voice, to encourage them to become more part of the decision making, potentially stand for council, become community councillors, and also raise their voices in the decision-making process and bring positive change to that area that they had voted for me to represent. Political office is very important. It's where systemic decisions are made. And rather than join an organisation and make a change once that decision is made that I don't agree with, that I think is unfair, is unequal, why not be part of the system that makes that decision and make the decision correct and representative and inclusive from the start? Sometimes it can be real simple things when someone contacts you and maybe there's been what seems to be very simple and very easy to resolve, like a bin that's maybe not been cleared for months and it's causing a lot of stress. And when the resident comes back to you and says, oh, thank you very much, that's made such a difference in my life, that was causing so much stress, it was actually impacting my mental health. And it can be some massive things as well that take years sometimes to achieve. So for example, an area that I represent in Govan Hill, there was years ago, and still to some extent, are challenges around the lack of social housing in the area. So in 2012 when I was elected, there was an imbalance in the social housing in the area. There was more private lets compared to social housing. So community was contacting me and saying, there's an absent landlord, there's no factoring, there's building going into disrepair, a lot of stress, a lot of concerns that have been raised. So what we came up with was the Govan Hill Acquisition Programme. So that was a programme between Glasgow City Council and the Scottish Government, which was a multi-million programme that's been documented nationally, and it brings private lets to a housing tolerable standard. And if that housing tolerable standard is not achieved, then the local housing association acquires that property and brings it into social let, and that has made an impact on the area. I wish I knew how challenging it is and how ruthless it is. That's the perfect, that's my honest answer. I didn't realise how ruthless it can be, and I had to learn how to navigate some of the challenges and the ruthlessness of the environment, but I'm still here. What surprised me about being a female representative is how pale, male and stale it is. The lack of female, the lack of diversity in the decision-making process, it's been a real shock to me. My biggest challenge and fear was that very early on when I started to campaign, when I was out in the ward, it was diverse. I was meeting people from all different backgrounds and I felt that I belonged. But when I went to the council and I was in meetings in this archaic building, there was imposter syndrome. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel included. And when the questions were asked to me, like, you're the councillor? You mean you counsel people? So those questions actually didn't help me, didn't help my confidence, because I felt more and more like, do I belong here? This building doesn't feel inclusive. This building doesn't look like the area that I represent. And that was a challenge. That was a journey that I had to go through, because there was lots of conversations with officers in the council to say, these are the challenges and these are the issues that I'm facing and that are being raised by the local communities that I represent, and taking their issues and their challenges. And sometimes that took time. and it was a journey. The support mechanisms that I found the most useful were some of my colleagues and organisations, third sector organisations that support women and support elected members. There's a lot of work still to be done with political parties and ensuring that there is support available, but I would say friends, family, colleagues and third sector organisations. What I would say to someone who's considering standing for council is please do your homework, please build a network, family, friends, third sector organisations, take all the support that's available and go ahead and go for it. There will be challenges, there will be negativity, there will be barriers, but there's also a lot of positivity. You will feed from the communities that you represent. There will be a lot of positivity as well through your networks. You know, build that support, whether it's third sector organisations, whether it's your friends, your family, colleagues, potentially political parties as well, and please do stand, please keep going. My next step is I'm selected to stand again for Southside Central. So it's building a campaign team to win the next election. And who knows what the future's to hold, Scottish Parliament, potentially Westminster as well. What is your next step?